Architecture seems to be one of the most overlooked forms of visual media in society. It is also one of the most prevalent. Every day, we live our lives within and around structures built for specific purposes. These structures arguably add more undiscussed meaning to our lives than any form of visual media. Like all other media, architecture has evolved with the surrounding shift in society's definition of truth and intelligence. We are finding more complex ways through our architecture to express the ideas of wealth, social status, humility, peace, and social order. I find architecture so interesting when analyzed as a visual media because its creation originated due to necessity. Like other forms of visual media, architecture has interminable resonance. People need shelter to survive, and through every form of shelter, a message is presented. Architecture is one of the few and most important mediums through which we can study past and present societies. While the style of buildings have altered throughout history within every society, the messages presented through architecture have not grown in complexity over time. While all cultures have changed drastically, only architecture has consistently, and without corruption, displayed the concepts of social structure within society. For this project, I will research distinct structures within communities in the past and present. For example, I will find churches and communities around Connecticut and compare them structurally to the churches in Connecticut in the past. I will then analyze how the structural aspects of the two time periods send the same message. I hope specifically to visit the First Congregational Church of East Hartford and the First Presbyterian Church in New Haven, Connecticut. These two structures were built in different time periods but show the same message of faith. I was also hoping to compare these structures in more religious cultures like that of Spain, since religion is given more universal importance in a country in which the vast majority practices the same one. The buildings are more emphasized. In the context of this culture, the buildings still, with their enormity, emphasize faith and peace. In addition, I would like to focus on the topic of wealth within different communities. I will compare the structures of the Newport mansions and that of newer mansions on Avon Mountain in West Hartford and Avon. I hope to compare the exterior structure of these buildings as they are meant to be shown off to the world. In addition to religious and wealth-based structures, I will discuss the impact of public structures and the messages they send. In order to do this, I will compare movie theaters and libraries of the past and present. For my project, I was hoping to construct 3 different types of buildings, all creating different moods within the spectator. I hope to create these structures out of cardboard, paint, and any other decorative materials I can find. This project will prove that by simply looking at the structure of a piece of architecture, one can understand the building's purpose and carry a mood emitted by the architecture that may affect him or her. Another project, which may be too complicated, would be to create actual-sized walls that replicate 4 different styles of buildings. The class would be able to walk through the building and see how the 4 different walls affect them. For my multimedia presentation, I plan on making a video. In this video, I hope to take the class into different structures that create meaning within a society. I hope to film these virtual tours on my phone and comment on them as the video is being presented. For the purpose of teaching, I will focus on specific case studies of buildings that have created meaning in the past. I first got the inspiration for this topic from Postman's Amusing Ourselves to Death. In Chapter 2, Postman introduces the idea of epistemology, or the theory of knowledge with special regard for its interest in truth. I realize that nothing is more true than the buildings in which we live and thrive. The truth that is built into every structure is universal. We all understand the importance of structures and the power associated with well-crafted structures, and because of this, architecture has resonance. Architecture resonates for an infinite amount of time, since we as humans will never not need shelter. It is difficult to think of architecture as media, since we usually think of visual media as something instant or as something being advertised. However, when I think of the key media concepts, I can concretely understand that architecture is a form of visual media. Key concept number 2 states that media construct images using their own rules. Large houses that are proudly displayed are actually being sold to us. We don't always consciously think of our dream houses, but when we do, they oftentimes look like houses we see on large mountains or in photographs. This raises the question, whose dream house or dream structure are we actually envisioning? Key concept number 3 says that people experience the same message differently. A person will react to a structure depending on things like his or her wealth, culture, mood, or nature. Not everyone will see the same building as appealing, and no one will experience the exact same feeling of warmth, comfort, discomfort, or unease when they see a certain type of architecture. I believe that architecture as a visual media is most closely related to Berger's essay on publicity. According to Berger, publicity is about social relations. Publicity manufactures glamour, the happiness of being envied. This is exactly what architecture has always done. Throughout history, bureaucrats have flaunted their physical possessions, including their houses. A nice house represents a nice life, and the unequal distribution of happiness, according to architecture, has always been prevalent. And architecture has always followed some of advertising's 15 basic appeals, especially the need to achieve, the need for dominance, and the need for prominence. But while the message of architecture has stayed consistent, styles continue to change. This relates to merchants of cool and how fast-paced trends are in order to keep selling.